Hi, everybody. It's great to see you all. I'm going to come down here, assuming that's okay, and say hello. Delighted to see you all here. I'm going to talk to you about customer churn and getting the real answers behind it. And Greg's right, we do that for clients. Gainsight's one of our clients. A number of the vendors here and attendees are our clients. But I'm going to show you some stuff that you can actually use yourselves in your CSM teams. And we have some tools that we're giving away that we hope that you'll pick up and try to use and give us some feedback on, okay? So I'm going to tell you about Jana. So Jana's a customer success manager at a company called Flyer. And Jana had a difficult quarter. They had some churn, unexpected, and a lot of pressure on to figure out what's going on. Anybody relate? Okay. So many theories going around. Ideas, hypotheses. The people with the biggest business cards think they know what is going on, but really, there's not alignment on the team. We don't know what to change. So Jana goes out and she starts talking to customers. She looks in the CRM reasons for churn, but these are so not actionable, right? And basically, the first one on the list is what most people chose. So she goes out and tries to speak to customers, and she talks to 20 churn customers. She talks to a mix of retained customers, ones that they had to kind of really work to retain, figure out what was going on there. She talks to 10 churned customers, and she does an in-depth interview to understand what's happening there. She's starting to see that story emerge. Now she has to make the case and help her executives understand. So she starts to compile this data. Now, how many of you have tried to put together a picture for what's going on with retention? Okay. Does it look anything like this? This is like my favorite spreadsheet ever, but kind of a lot of data, right? So she's sort of struggling to sort of tell this story. And so a week before her QBR, Jana has a breakthrough, and I invited Jana to come and talk to us here, but she got such good findings out of this that she's actually back at the Flyer office implementing that. So my colleague, Alex McDonnell, is here as Jana's deputy, and he's going to show us what Jana found.
Hey, thanks, Alan. And great to be here on behalf of Jana. So here's what Jana built. So she wrestled through those spreadsheets and the attempts at creating kind of a systematic way of going through all these conversations. She had so many good quotes, but was struggling to bring structure to them. What she ended up building was a data model. And what you're looking at here is a gallery of the 20 conversations that Jana had. Each card here represents one of those conversations. So kind of a pleasant way to scan through that. And if you click into any one of those, you look at Bloomberg here, for example. This was a churn. She went through the effort of writing kind of a scoop. What was the essence of that decision? And then went deeper into all the different factors that influenced that choice that the buyer made. And by bringing structure to these conversations, she's able to do some pretty exciting things when it comes to slicing and dicing that data. So Alan told you about some of those internal theories that Jana was dealing with. She wants to put some of those debates to rest, or at least make them a little bit more informed and aligned. So Jana, based on the data that she's created, can build out views like this. So one of the internal myths was, is it our total cost that is pushing these buyers to churn? We hear all the time that competitors are undercutting us on cost and customers just can't rationalize that budget. What she found, and what she was able to create a summary table that showed her was, well, all the comments that I heard about financial and commercial were actually pretty evenly spread in terms of sentiment. So there were 4 positive comments, 6 negative comments, and then 2 of what she called a rant or a super negative or emotional comment. And if she actually clicks into those financial and commercial records on the negative side, so you're looking at that summary table that Jana created here of financial, commercial, and negative, she can actually then pop into each of those comments. So you can see at a glance that they're mostly about the clear pricing model failing the customer. And just one was about total justifiable cost. And then if she looks at those really emotional ones, that's probably worth actually reading the quote and seeing what that buyer said. So she'll pop that open, and she can extract the quote from her interview down at the bottom there. Anytime that starts with a phrase like, "to be honest," you know that she actually did a really good job in the interview of getting that person to open up about what really happened. Because of a lack of clarity in the pricing model, they have this usage-based pricing of Flyer. There was this issue where the champion was super embarrassed because they blew through their budget way faster than they had planned, and that was just a deal breaker. So of course that's going to set off a series of events that leads to churn. So that was Jana's first finding. It's not a total cost issue. It's not that they can't justify the budget. There was actually quite a few positive comments that it was a fair price. Pricing model was the issue. So that's the kind of finding that can come out of this structured analysis that can help settle internal debates. That was one. The second one is a little headier. So Jana looked at what she calls the initial visions for change that each of these buyers had. Why did they come to Flyer in the first place? What were they hoping to achieve? And she coded that out as the vision for change. So that's listed as her rows here. So examples included improving efficiency. There was some real human and personal visions as well. Some people talked about, I wanted to make this investment so that I could further my career, join a community of like-minded people in the Flyer customer community, things like that. And then a big one was using the Flyer technology to help them grow their revenue. And so she sorted each of these interviews by what happened, did they stay or did they go, and what was their initial vision. And she saw a pretty clear signal here that when customers were talking about using Flyer to grow their revenue, they were churning. And so the questions keep coming, right? So, all right, what benefits do buyers perceive Flyer to provide? So this is her next table. So give me all the comments about the specific features that we provide at Flyer. Don't just banner it all under product, but go feature by feature and then associate those features to benefits, those same benefits that make up a vision in the first place, growing revenue, improving efficiency, and so on, and tell me what they thought of us. So only 2 comments came back about how Flyer would help grow revenue. In both cases, they were positive, but the signal here for Jana was there's only 2. So she went back to her marketing team and realized we're actually not telling that story. All we talk about is improving efficiency, and that's where the concentration of comments was. Again, it tilted positive, but it's a mismatch between what that buyer's initial vision was and what her technology is perceived to actually do. So that was her second finding. Took a couple different angles of analysis to find that, but again, when you have that structure, it helps these patterns emerge, and a good question leads to a better question. And then lastly, this last kind of internal debate that Jana wanted to settle was one that maybe you all can relate to, which is, if only we just built that one feature that our competitor has, we'd be fine. We'd never lose to them again. So Flyer, in this case, has a competitor called Turboprop, and the specific Turboprop feature that she always hears about is Turboprop's search, and how it's just so much better than Flyer's search. So pretty granular here, right? Give me the feature-level feedback by sentiment, by vendor. And so she found that for Flyer, there was actually only 2 comments about search, and they were both positive. So it was actually more like those other issues that she found that were driving the churn, not this feature-level stuff. So she can bring that data to the table to start to settle some of those debates and really do some myth-busting. So that's what Jana's up to now.
Wow, thank you, Alex. Okay. I want to say that Jana's story, I don't think you guessed it yet. She's a fictional person. But this is actually based on our experience at Eigenworks in interviewing thousands of buyers for hundreds of clients over the last almost 11 years. And trying to bring structure to qualitative data. You know, we talk about PX, we have tons of quantitative user behavior data. There's data, there's a lot of data. But understanding and organizing themes in qualitative user conversations is a very difficult thing to do. So we can do that at the level of one interview. But we really need to talk to about 20 people to get a sense of a larger population. That's a sort of golden number. And analyzing themes across 20 is not an easy thing to do. And then if you want to trend things over time, if you continually record conversations with customers, it's very hard to do at scale. And so what we've done at Eigenworks and what we're releasing here today and we're going to give you access to is a data structure, a data model to model those buyer decisions. And I'm going to walk you through how that works. So is this graph familiar to you folks? Okay, this is a pretty common Gainsight graph that we've been inspired by and we're building on. So this is measuring customer experience on the vertical, customer outcomes on the horizontal. So if we look at those as areas of feedback that we're looking for post-sale, we want to start to organize the feedback into those categories. So what was profile customer experience and customer outcomes. But we noticed that there's also product experience as well. And prior to the decision, before we get to customer outcomes, we have to talk about what was this customer looking for in the first place. This is one of the things that we can forget as we're coaching them through all of the different ways of using our product. And so we call that vision for change. What was the before and after that they were looking for before they made that purchase? And the customer outcomes should reflect that. Then we want to look at their buyer experience, right? Which is the precedent to customer experience. And that's an area that we can get feedback on. How did they appreciate our salespeople? Were they knowledgeable, responsive? Did we excavate for what the buyer were looking for? Did we help them see that vision? And then, of course, there's product experience prior as well, and we call that POCX. And then there are just a set of factors that cut across before and after a decision. They're just must-haves, table stakes. These are the things that everybody has, but we have to show that we have them too. So in our, and then of course we can talk about expansion decisions and renewals as well and extend the model. So for each of these areas, we've started to develop a set of factors or forces that will that align with customer outcomes. So one of the outcomes that someone might be looking for is scale up, or grow revenue, or achieve autonomy and advancement. In the experience realm, having help and expertise, feeling belonging or being part of a community, achieving time to value. Some of the product experience things that they'll be looking at are usability and performance. And so we've developed a canon of these kinds of forces that you can start to characterize and then build on for your specific product and company. And we call this a decision forces diagnostic. The idea is that there are forces pushing customers towards you, helping you retain them, pushing them away from you, and these forces all play together. It's different than trying to boil something down to, that was price, it was the product. We get very specific here, okay? So yeah, grab a screenshot there. I'd be happy to send you this though. So if you take a photo of this slide, our email address is there. Just send me an email, send us an email here, and we'll send you this model and the slides if you'd like as well. We're going to release the database that we showed you, which is actually built in a tool called Airtable. Beautiful product, so simple to get started with, and the data model, the decision forces diagnostic will be pre-populated there if you email us and ask us for that. Okay, that's what we have to release today, and hopefully help you get some understanding about buyer decisions. There's one more thing that I want to bring to your attention. We're actually partnering with Gainsight and Pulse this week, and in an ongoing way, we're going to be profiling the link between the product organization and the customer success organization. So we're using our mad skills of interviewing and understanding behavior to understand why is it that feedback from customer success sometimes has a hard time making it onto the product roadmap. And so Alex, my colleague who represented Janet today, We'll be conducting interviews on the floor yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We're actually almost full. You can contribute to that study here, but we'll be continuing with some interviews next week as well.
Yeah, exactly. So if you hit that link, I think we have a couple more spots first thing tomorrow. But today I'm heading back to our booth and doing 6 interviews, pretty much back to back. So super excited for that. We want to get to about 20, like Alan said. That's kind of the saturation point for any study for us. So if you hit that link, you can book a time next week where we can just do a Zoom call and have a 30-minute conversation.
And the other thing you'll get if you go to that link, even if you don't want to book an interview directly, you can subscribe to the study. So we're partnering with Gainsight. We're going to be publishing the results about what are you as customer success people struggling with as far as getting feedback back to the product organization. And then we're probably going to turn the lens over to product and say, what about all this stuff coming in from CS? How do you look at that? Some interesting findings there. Okay. So again, get in contact with us. We love studying buyer decisions. A little bit old school, like we actually speak to people. And we have a lot of resources, and we're starting to serialize those to teach CSMs, salespeople, product marketing people about how to have in-depth conversations with customers to excavate for their real issues and their real goals. So if you tune into us over the next several months, we'll be releasing dialogue models, interviewing techniques, some training and things like that. So I'd love to get to know you if this is a topic that interests you and have more discussion. Hopefully these tools will help you, and of course we can also help you do this as a service as well. Okay? Thanks very much. And then we'll switch to questions. Yeah. Go to the Slido poll. Okay. So Greg's gonna. Okay.
Awesome. All right. So Alan, first question on Slido, top question is, tell us more about the churn interviews. How long are they? How many questions and topics are covered to get to the most insights?
Yeah.
Kind of just a practical overview of what happens on those calls.
Right on. Okay, so we've tested all sorts of models. And what we found out is that we can have a really great in-depth conversation in 30 minutes. Try to do it in 15 minutes, we don't have enough time. So we really have to go back to their origin story with your product to talk about churn. We want to look for that vision for change. What were they expecting? What were they looking for? What kind of outcome were they looking for? And then we want to profile them along the journey and sort of ask, okay, that's where you were aiming to start out. Here's where you ended up. Fill in that journey for me. And they will naturally gravitate to the hot spots on that journey. I don't need to be exhaustive. I want to look for the critical few moments in a customer journey and then code those and capture those. We can then turn those things back around and if we start to see patterns like handoff from sales or onboarding difficulties, we can start to improve our processes there.
Awesome. Okay, great. Next question from Slido is, how do you get unhappy churned customers to give you feedback? Maybe a little bit about why a churned customer who maybe has just gone through some kind of painful experience would agree to offer this kind of feedback at all.
Yeah. So one thing is very important, right? This question comes up all the time. Loss analysis we do for customer acquisition, churn analysis for retention. Why would somebody get on the phone? First of all, let's address why they wouldn't get on the phone. They won't get on the phone if they perceive it as yet another attempt to win their business back with sort of too little, too late. That's what keeps them from doing that. And if they think it's going to get into a conversation where they have to defend themselves or make you go away again, like I've already made you go away, don't make me do that one more time. So if I can remove that friction from getting people on the phone, people are quite willing to give feedback. There's sort of a general belief, like, look, you're a good vendor, you mean well, you're a good person, I like talking to you. I don't have anything against you, but just don't sell me again, please. But then I will give you that feedback. I think what's difficult for product vendors, and it's why we have a business, is that you've kind of already tried that. When they, just before renewal, post them notifying you, can't we just have a conversation, maybe you can give me some feedback? It's always viewed as part of a sales motion or a re-engagement motion. I think that's what stops people. When we come in, we position ourselves as a research company. Just doing research. We're going to help help Gainsight learn from this experience. And people are willing to contribute to learning and the betterment of the industry if they know that there's not going to be any sort of recrimination for them on that front.
Okay, excellent. Next question here from Ethan is, why do you feel that customers are lying based on the interviews and decision factors that you're gathering? I'll try that one.
Yeah, go for it.
So I think our point of view is that to try and gather this feedback yourself is so difficult that what you'll probably end up with are those half-truths and those lies. We think that we can come in and get the honest story. So as the third party, that's what, as you've heard from Alan, that's what we obsess over and specialize in, is very tactically, in 30 minutes, getting somebody to open up about the journey they've been on and where things worked and where they didn't. That's what we're in the business of. I can speak personally to, before joining Eigenworks, trying to do this as an in-house, what we call market intelligence function. Difficult. I mean, you're sort of a semi-third party. You're not the actual sales rep or account manager or CSM that they dealt with. You're sort of independent, but you're still under that same logo. So I personally felt difficulty trying to get that candor with people. And so meeting Alan and learning about the premise of having a third party come in, and then the ability to specialize in some of those conversational techniques that actually get people to open up and give you their truth was just so exciting for me. So that one's personal for me, of that attempting to get the truth as a first party versus really getting it as a third party.
Yeah. No, you got it. Your customers are lying to you is the reason you're all here, I think. Do you feel like you're getting the truth about the reasons for renewal or churn and so on? That's the difficult part, right? So we're here to help. People ask me, how much of this should we do on our own? My answer is, as much as you can, right? But it does put you in a harder to excavate place. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Let's go to the third one down there. In an enterprise situation, who's a better candidate for the interview itself? End users, decision makers, procurement, executive leaders. I'll just set this one up, is that our interviews are typically one-on-one, one interviewer and one person on the other side. And typically we do one interview per account. So we do have to make a choice, or at least establish a point of view on what's best. How would you speak to that, Alan?
Yeah. So the person that I want to speak to is the person who's sort of in the middle of the circle. They're not necessarily the final decision maker, but they need to know what the final decision maker thought and why. But I'd like to get the full spectrum of all of those opinions, and there's usually somebody who's that person in the middle. There are times, though, when we really need to go to the economic buyer or the decision maker, just because, we hear this phrase in a lot of interviews. They told us, I was directed by senior management. I wasn't given insight. At that point, we really have to work hard to get to a higher level. We're below a certain power line at that point.
Okay, minute left here, so this might be our last one. 6 upvotes. So in the Churn Interview, super practical, what have you found to be one of the most powerful or informative questions you ask?
Yeah. So we start out by just saying, where did you start out? Where did you get to? And then we really try to excavate that and dig deeper. Why did that matter? Tell me more. We really want to let the person know that we believe them. We want them to be really candid with us. We thank them when they give us some difficult to hear feedback. That starts to build trust. Building trust is awesome. We get their self-reported story. But what I find most interesting in churn interviews and win-loss interviews is questions that we call what about questions, and the other kind are what if questions. So what about questions in a churn interview would be, what about all these things that we think we do that are really effective to monitor health and call the right people at the right time? What about how hard we work to orchestrate this experience? Tell us why those things didn't work for you, because we want to improve. Right? That's exciting, because now we hear their experience without any trying to shape it according to what we think. We close that off, and then we move into that what about. And then knowing what we know in that 2/3 of the discussion, then we come back with a what if, right? And we don't want to do that until we have a really clear sense that we've gotten to sort of to the deep level of understanding of their actual experience. And then we can come back and say, wouldn't it have helped if, right? What if we had? What do you really wish we would have done? What would you like us to have known? How would we have known those things? What actions did you guys take to try to reach out to us? Make sense? So there's those sort of progressive levels of depth and testing. Was there something that we could have done to save this account or to grow the account? And when would we have had to do that?
Awesome. Okay, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for your questions. We'll hang around here. Thanks.